The lavish wedding ceremony of Veronica and Harold takes place in an opulent California ballroom. The guest list is a who's who of high society, and no expense has been spared on the extravagant decorations. Veronica plays the role of the perfect bride flawlessly, her radiant smile and graceful demeanor capturing the hearts of everyone present. However, beneath her carefully crafted exterior lies a calculating mind already planning her exit strategy. As Harold slips a stunning ring onto Veronica's finger, he explains its history. The ring, he says, belonged to his late wife, who was deeply involved in spiritual practices. Veronica's eyes light up at the sight of the exquisite jewel, completely oblivious to its hidden power. She smiles and nods, her mind already racing with thoughts of how much it might be worth. The moment arrives for the couple to say, "I do." As Veronica utters those two simple words, a sinister glow emanates from the ring. It's brief and subtle, easily missed by most, but it's there a warning sign of things to come. Veronica, however, is too consumed by her ambition to notice. She's focused solely on the cameras capturing their happy moment and the prenuptial agreement being discreetly discussed during the reception. The guests mill about, sipping champagne and offering their congratulations. Veronica plays her part perfectly, accepting well wishes with grace and charm. But her eyes constantly dart to where Harold is speaking with his lawyer, discussing the final details of their prenup. She's eager to get her hands on that document, to find the loopholes that will ensure her financial security when she inevitably leaves Harold. As the reception continues, Veronica begins to feel the weight of the ring on her finger. It's heavier than she expected, almost as if it's trying to anchor her to this marriage she views as nothing more than a business transaction. But she pushes these thoughts aside, focusing instead on the wealth and status she's just married into. Little does she know, the ring's power is already at work, setting in motion a chain of events that will turn her carefully laid plans upside down. After the ceremony, Veronica wastes no time in approaching Harold about the prenuptial agreement. She puts on her most charming smile and suggests they review the document together, claiming she wants to ensure everything is in order. Her true intention, of course, is to identify any loopholes or vague clauses she can exploit later. Harold, seemingly unconcerned, agrees to discuss the terms in a more private setting. As the newlyweds move to a quieter corner of the reception hall, Veronica's best friend Sarah watches with growing unease. Sarah has known Veronica long enough to recognize the signs of her friend's manipulative behavior. She can see right through Veronica's act and realizes the bride's true intentions. Sarah debates whether to intervene, torn between loyalty to her friend and a nagging sense of moral obligation. Sarah considers approaching Harold to warn him about Veronica's true nature. She takes a few steps towards the couple, but hesitates when she sees the genuine happiness on Harold's face. The widower looks truly content for the first time in years, and Sarah can't bring herself to shatter his illusion of marital bliss. She retreats, conflict evident in her expression. Meanwhile, Veronica has already made contact with a divorce lawyer. In hushed tones, she outlines her plan for a quick and profitable split from Harold. The lawyer listens attentively, jotting down notes and offering suggestions on how to maximize her potential settlement. Veronica is so focused on her schemes that she fails to notice the strange warmth emanating from the ring on her finger. Unbeknownst to Veronica, the cursed ring is already influencing her decisions. As she plots and plans, the ring's power subtly alters her thought processes, pushing her towards choices that will ultimately lead to her downfall. But in her hubris and greed, Veronica remains oblivious to the supernatural forces at play. Harold, far from being the oblivious groom Veronica believes him to be, has his own plans in motion. Disguised as an investigative journalist, he mingles with the wedding guests, carefully extracting information about his new bride. He listens intently to whispered conversations and idle gossip, piecing together the true nature of Veronica's character and her intentions for their marriage. As Harold gathers intel, he begins to formulate his revenge. Each tidbit of information fuels his determination to expose Veronica's true nature and teach her a lesson she won't soon forget. His face remains pleasant and unassuming, but behind his eyes, a storm is brewing. Later in the evening, Veronica attempts to seduce Harold, believing it will make him more pliable to her manipulation. She approaches him with a sultry smile, her body language deliberately inviting. However, to her shock and frustration, Harold coolly rebuffs her advances. He politely excuses himself, leaving Veronica standing alone, confused and irritated by this unexpected rejection. The tension between the newlyweds becomes palpable. Veronica struggles to hide her annoyance, while Harold maintains a calm, almost amused demeanor. Guests begin to notice the strain, exchanging curious glances and hushed comments about the couple's odd behavior. Meanwhile, Sarah observes the changing dynamics with growing concern. Harold's sudden shift in attitude towards Veronica doesn't escape her notice. Intrigued and worried, she decides to dig deeper into Harold's past and his connection to his late wife. Sarah discreetly pulls out her phone and begins researching, her fingers flying across the screen as she uncovers disturbing details about the ring's curse and its potential impact on her friend's fate. As the reception continues, the stage is set for a confrontation. Veronica, Harold, and Sarah are each pursuing their own agendas, unaware of how their actions are intertwining to create a perfect storm of revelations and consequences. The reception reaches its crescendo as Harold rises to give a toast. The room falls silent, all eyes turning to the groom. Instead of the expected sentimental speech, Harold proposes an unconventional game. He suggests that everyone, including the newlyweds, share something they've never told anyone before, a game of truth and lies. Veronica, confident in her ability to manipulate the situation, sees this as an opportunity to further endear herself to the guests. She stands up, glass in hand, ready to spin a tale that will paint her in the best possible light. With a practiced smile, she begins to share her secret, a carefully crafted story about her ambitions and dreams, expecting applause and admiration from the audience. However, as Veronica speaks, she notices Harold watching her with an unsettling intensity. His eyes are fixed on her, his expression a mix of determination and something else she can't quite place. It's unnerving, and for the first time since the ceremony, Veronica feels a flicker of uncertainty. As the game continues, a mysterious guest stands up. This person, unknown to most of the attendees, mentions that Harold seems to be hiding something significant. The comment sends a ripple of murmurs through the crowd. Guests exchange curious glances, wondering what secrets the seemingly straightforward groom might be concealing. Veronica's ears perk up at this development. She smiles to herself, thinking this might be the perfect opportunity to shift attention away from her and onto Harold. If he has secrets, she reasons, they could potentially be leveraged to her advantage in the future. The atmosphere in the room shifts, tension building as guests wait to see how Harold will respond to the accusation. Some lean forward in their seats, eager for more drama, while others shift uncomfortably, sensing that the jovial wedding reception is about to take an unexpected turn. As Harold prepares to address the room, Veronica watches him closely, her mind racing with possibilities. Little does she know, she's walking right into the trap Harold has meticulously set for her. A hush falls over the room as Harold takes center stage. With a calculated calmness, he begins to expose Veronica's true intentions. His voice steady and clear, Harold reveals a recording of Veronica's conversation with her divorce lawyer, laying bare her plans for a quick and profitable split. The guests are stunned into silence, their shock palpable as Harold's words sink in. Whispers and gasps ripple through the crowd as they process the revelation. Veronica's carefully constructed facade begins to crumble, her composure slipping as she realizes the extent of Harold's counterplot. Desperately, Veronica attempts to interject, to spin the situation in her favor, but Harold presses on relentlessly. He delves into the details of how the prenuptial agreement has been altered by the ring's curse, transforming it from a simple legal document into a devastating trap for Veronica. As Harold speaks, the true nature of the cursed ring becomes clear. It's not just a piece of jewelry, but a powerful artifact that has bound Veronica to a fate she never anticipated. The prenup, influenced by the ring's magic, now contains clauses that will strip Veronica of everything she hoped to gain from marriage. The audience watches in a mixture of horror and fascination as the drama unfolds before them. Some guests appear shocked, others angry, and a few even seem impressed by Harold's intricate plan. Veronica finds herself surrounded by a sea of disapproving and incredulous faces, her allies quickly dwindling as the truth about her intentions spreads through the room like wildfire. Veronica's mind races, searching for a way out of this nightmare. But with each passing moment, as more details of her scheme are laid bare, she realizes the gravity of her situation. The trap she thought she was setting for Harold has instead ensnared her, leaving her exposed and vulnerable before the very people she sought to impress and manipulate. As the revelations continue, the wedding reception transforms into an impromptu trial, with the guests serving as both jury and witnesses to Veronica's downfall. The celebration of love has become a spectacle of justice, orchestrated by a groom who proved far more cunning than Veronica ever anticipated. Sarah, witnessing Veronica's public humiliation, decides to intervene. Despite her earlier hesitations, she can't stand by and watch her friend's life unravel completely. She pushes through the crowd, approaching Harold with determination. In a low, urgent voice, she attempts to reason with him, pleading for him to stop the revelation for everyone's sake. However, Harold is prepared for this intervention. With a knowing smile, he turns to address the guests once more. In a shocking twist, he reveals that Sarah is also part of his elaborate plan. He insinuates that Sarah has always harbored feelings for him and had been secretly hoping for Veronica's downfall. This unexpected accusation sends another wave of murmurs through the audience, their eyes now darting between Sarah, Harold, and Veronica. Sarah stands frozen, caught off guard by Harold's claim. Her attempt to help Veronica has backfired spectacularly, leaving her reputation in tatters as well. The guests whisper amongst themselves, reassessing everything they thought they knew about the bride, the groom, and now the maid of honor. Veronica, seeing her last potential ally neutralized, becomes desperate. She tries to argue her case, her voice rising in pitch as she attempts to salvage the situation. But her words fall on deaf ears. The truth about her manipulation and ambition has spread like wildfire among the guests, who have now become de facto judges of her character and actions. As Veronica speaks, her arguments become increasingly frantic and inconsistent. She alternates between denying Harold's claims and trying to justify her actions, but each attempt only serves to further incriminate her in the eyes of the onlookers. The guests, once charmed by her poise and beauty, now regard her with a mixture of disgust and pity. The reception hall, once filled with joy and celebration, has transformed into a court of public opinion. Guests take sides, some defending Veronica out of loyalty or disbelief, while others condemn her actions. The atmosphere is thick with tension as everyone waits to see how this dramatic scene will play out. Amidst the chaos, the cursed ring on Veronica's finger seems to grow heavier, a constant reminder of the trap she's walked into. As she struggles to find a way out of this nightmare, she begins to realize that the price of her ambition might be far higher than she ever imagined. The wedding reception has now fully transformed into an impromptu tribunal. The guests, still in their formal attire, have divided themselves into factions. Some stand behind Veronica, either out of loyalty or disbelief in Harold's claims. Others align with Harold, convinced by the evidence he's presented. The tension in the room is palpable as the revelations continue to unfold. Veronica, realizing the gravity of her situation, attempts to change tactics. She adopts a more vulnerable demeanor, appealing to the sympathy of the guests. With tears welling in her eyes, she claims that her actions have been misunderstood and that she's the victim of a cruel setup. She speaks of her difficult past and how she only wanted security and love, painting herself as a misguided soul rather than a calculating manipulator. However, Harold is prepared for this emotional plea. He interrupts Veronica's performance with more damning evidence. He reveals details about Veronica's past relationships, exposing a pattern of manipulation and deceit. Harold presents testimonies from Veronica's ex-partners, each telling a similar story of being used and discarded once their wealth or influence had been exhausted. The guests listen in horror as the true extent of Veronica's machinations comes to light. Even those who were initially skeptical of Harold's claims begin to waver. The room fills with gasps and murmurs as people process the shocking revelations about the woman they thought they knew. Veronica's facade crumbles completely under the weight of these accusations. Her carefully constructed image of the perfect bride lies in ruins, replaced by the reality of a cunning social climber who saw marriage as nothing more than a business transaction. As the drama unfolds, some guests begin to leave, unable to bear the tension and discomfort of the situation. Others stay, captivated by the unfolding spectacle. The wedding pianist, sensing the mood, has long since stopped playing, leaving an eerie silence broken only by Harold's revelations and the reactive murmurs of the crowd. Through it all, the cursed ring on Veronica's finger seems to pulse with an otherworldly energy, a physical manifestation of the trap she's walked into. As she stands there, exposed and vulnerable, Veronica begins to realize that her ambition has led her down a path from which there may be no return. The tension reaches its peak when a friend of Harold's, a well-known attorney, steps forward. He offers to explain the prenuptial agreement clause that has been altered by the ring's curse. The guests fall silent, eager to hear the legal ramifications of Veronica's actions. The lawyer, with clinical precision, outlines the terms of the cursed prenup. He reveals that due to the ring's influence, all of Veronica's assets, past, present, and future, are now legally bound to be donated to various charities. This includes not only any potential divorce settlement, but also her personal wealth and future earnings. As the implications of this revelation sink in, Veronica's face turns pale. She realizes that her plan for a quick, profitable divorce has not only failed but backfired catastrophically. In her pursuit of Harold's wealth, she has inadvertently signed away everything she owns. Panic-stricken, Veronica frantically looks for an escape route. To her horror, she discovers that the doors of the reception hall are locked. This physical barrier becomes a powerful symbol of her emotional and financial entrapment. The once spacious ballroom now feels suffocating, closing in on her as the reality of her situation becomes undeniable. In desperation, Veronica turns to Sarah, hoping for comfort or assistance from her longtime friend. However, Sarah's response only adds to Veronica's distress. In a moment of emotional vulnerability, Sarah confesses that she has always had feelings for Harold. This admission leaves Veronica feeling utterly betrayed and alone, isolated in a room full of people who now see her true nature. The guests watch this drama unfold with a mix of fascination and discomfort. Some express sympathy for Veronica's plight, while others feel she's receiving just comeuppance for her deceitful behavior. The atmosphere in the room is heavy with judgment and schadenfreude. Throughout this ordeal, the cursed ring continues to gleam on Veronica's finger, a constant reminder of the supernatural force that has turned her carefully laid plans against her. As she stands there, surrounded by the wreckage of her ambitions, Veronica begins to understand the true cost of her greed and manipulation. As the truth about Veronica's intentions and actions becomes fully exposed, the mood in the reception hall shifts dramatically. The celebratory atmosphere has completely evaporated, replaced by a somber, almost funereal air. Guests, no longer in a festive mood, begin to file out of the hall, leaving Veronica increasingly isolated. The departing guests cast a mix of pitying and disgusted glances at Veronica as they leave. Some shake their heads in disappointment, while others whisper among themselves, already spreading the scandalous tale to those who weren't present. The sound of their exit, the rustle of expensive fabrics, the clack of high heels on marble floors, serves as a haunting backdrop to Veronica's downfall. Now in control of the situation, Harold confronts Veronica directly. His demeanor is calm but firm as he challenges her to face the consequences of her actions. He speaks not with anger, but with a sense of justice being served. The remaining guests watch in rapt attention, witnesses to this final confrontation between the manipulator and her intended victim. Veronica, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her, makes one last desperate attempt to salvage the situation. She tries to appeal to the emotions of those still present, crafting a story of redemption and misunderstanding. However, her words fall flat. The audience, having seen behind her mask, remains unmoved by her pleas. The few guests who have stayed to the end observe this exchange with a mix of emotions. Some appear satisfied to see justice served, while others seem uncomfortable with the public nature of Veronica's humiliation. Regardless of their individual feelings, all are united in their role as silent judges of this impromptu trial. As the reality of her situation sinks in, Veronica's composure finally breaks completely. The facade of the perfect bride shatters, revealing the scared, desperate woman beneath. She looks around the room, seeking any sign of support or sympathy, but finds none. The opulent wedding decorations, now seeming garish and mocking, serve as a stark contrast to the grim scene unfolding. In this moment, surrounded by the remnants of her failed scheme and facing a future she never anticipated, Veronica begins to grasp the full weight of her actions and the power of the cursed ring that sealed her fate. In the climactic moment of this wedding-turned nightmare, Harold delivers the final revelation. He explains that the true curse of the ring goes beyond mere financial ruin. Its real power lies in its ability to strip away the wearer's capacity to love and be loved genuinely. Harold's voice carries a mix of vindication and sadness as he describes how the ring amplifies the wearer's worst traits, ultimately leaving them isolated and alone. Harold bids farewell to Veronica, his tone a combination of pity and stern finality. He promises that she will face the full consequences of her actions, not just legally and financially, but emotionally and spiritually as well. The remaining guests watch in stunned silence, witnesses to this ultimate unraveling of a union that had barely begun. The reception, which started as a celebration of love, has transformed into a banquet of revelations where the true nature of its participants has been laid bare. In a symbolic gesture that marks the end of this charade, Harold announces that all of Veronica's assets, as stipulated by the cursed prenup, will be donated to various charities. This declaration serves as both punishment for Veronica and and a form of karmic redistribution. Veronica, now stripped of her ambitions and schemes, stands alone in the center of the room. The weight of her actions and their consequences finally hits her full force. She realizes that in her relentless pursuit of wealth and status, she has lost something far more valuable: the ability to form genuine connections and experience true love. As the last guests depart, leaving behind a wasteland of wilting flowers and half-empty champagne glasses, Veronica is left to contemplate her future. The cursed ring, still on her finger, serves as a constant reminder of her folly. Harold, having exposed Veronica's true nature and thwarted her plans, finds an unexpected sense of peace. By revealing the intentions of his manipulative antagonist, he has not only protected himself, but also achieved a form of closure for the pain of his past. In the end, this ill-fated wedding becomes a cautionary tale about the perils of greed and deception, and a powerful reminder that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the capacity for honesty and genuine love.